This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by Freaking.com.
Well, I'm standing here with Joe from Milford here in New Hampshire, and you're here waiting for Ron Paul to show up.
That's correct.
What would you say right now is, what's your expectation of where the country's going to be, in 4 or 5 years, based on what's happening right now?
Frankly, unless Dr. Paul's elected, I expect a tremendous monetary crisis. I really do. As a matter of fact, I'm not completely certain that Dr. Paul can in fact save us from it. However, I feel he's our best shot.
How would you say he's changed you over the last 4 years, his existence in this political process?
Well, interestingly enough, I found him from, he was referred to me inadvertently from Dennis Miller. I was watching a comedy routine from Dennis Miller, and he was talking about the national debt. And he says, what is the national debt? I don't know, we owe somebody $16 trillion, screw them, And I was thinking to myself, I said, I don't understand the national debt either. So I took that, at that point in time, I learned about the national debt and exactly what it meant. And frankly, that's what led me to Dr. Paul. I kind of come in from the back door, finding the one that was the most concerned as I was with the national debt.
I've heard this expression that debt never disappears, and I think it's true. But it has to go to someone. Someone's going to be left catching the ball or sitting in the without the seat to sit down on when the musical chair's up. I guess it might be China. I have this sense that there could be some sort of conflict between China and whoever doesn't pay the debt.
Yeah, except for it's my understanding that China is not our biggest debt. Our biggest debtor,
really?
As far as
our creditor.
Yeah, creditor. I'm sorry, but it's my understanding that Social Security is the biggest.
So the old people with AKs. That's who the feds will have to fight if they don't pay the debt. I don't know. But China. It seems I focus on them simply because they're the only power in the world that seems like it's both rising, really rising, and also can kind of hold its own. And has a legitimate grievance against the United States if the federal government doesn't pay back the debt to China or anyone else. So it's conceivable there could be some kind of a conflict there. I don't know. I've never known of a military conflict coming out of debt, but things are so, the way they explain conflicts to you in history books is not always accurate.
Boy, this is exactly true. Actually, I think when it comes right down to it, we're learning more and more that it's really all about money.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be debt or whether it be the ability to make money, but that seems to be what war boils down to.
Yeah. Who do you think is who's the main enemy of the Ron Paul movement, or the main opponent, institutionally or individually?
Mainstream media, as near as I can tell. It's just awful. It really is. And not only that. Interestingly enough, Dave, what's happened is since this Ron Paul campaign, now we're looking at other things that the mainstream media has glossed over. Say, for instance, the election fraud, or back in 2008. That was a pretty big deal, and it's pretty proven. However, the mainstream media never picked up that story either. Like I say, I think they're our big problem right now. We need an honest mainstream media.
What would you say is a solution that the Ron Paul people, not necessarily his campaigners, but his movement and the mainstream media can come to, the win-win solution between the two?
Good question. It's a case of where I don't see it happening, to tell you the truth, because frankly, here we've got a candidate that's anti-corporatism, and we've got a corporate-sponsored media. That's just not going to work. And so I don't really see it. Frankly, I see, as time goes on, mainstream media especially television media, playing a less and less a role in the United States as time goes on, and independent media, I think, is going to see a big rise.
It's interesting, yeah, because over the last 4 months, since maybe early October, I've had to see this. If you look at the graph of Ridley-Report views, it's like an exponential upward curve. I get like 16,000 hits a day now. Whereas it was much more like 6,000 or 7,000 4 months ago, and it seems to be a long-term trend, which will probably go away a little bit when the primary goes away, but some of that's going to stay. So it's definitely happening for me.
Your site's always interesting. It doesn't take an election to make your site interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you talking with me, Joe, and coming out and doing something. I hope you'll stick with the activity after this primary is over.
Yeah, so absolutely. My eyes are open now. I'm awake.
All right. See you out there.
Thank you.
Keene, New Hampshire, the capital of libertarian civil disobedience. The folks over at freekeene.com believe this is the place you should be if you believe in peaceful non-cooperation. freekeene.com invites you to the beautiful hills of western New Hampshire and invites you to join their peaceful evolution. freekeene.com